Welcome to Shakti Punch. With me, Pranav, I am your host. On this show, we go together hand in hand on a cosmic journey to unravel the mysteries of reality through a Dharmic or Indic lens, if you will. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very happy to be here with you. You know, we're going to be discussing all things Dharma. Today is July 25th, 2024. Guys, we only have 426,875 years, 207 days, 4 hours, 1 minute, and 30 seconds left in the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness that we are in. That's not too bad. That's not that bad. You know, it's going to go by like nothing, you know? It's going to be fine, guys. We got a lot of karmas to burn. You know, we are in the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, for those of you who do not know, we are in the final of the 4 epochs in Hindu cosmology. These all last, I think they all last like 432,000 some years or something like that, right now?
So it's 4 to 3 to 1.
4 to 3 to 2
so we're actually in the
to 1.
Of the yugas.
Yes.
So, you know,
we got it easy.
We're also in the yuga with the least amount of dharma.
The most Dharmic, guys. It's the darkest one. I like to think of the Kali Yuga as the age of the least magic, you know? A depletion of our connection to the other more ethereal reality, the super consciousness that we're in. We're in the dark ages, guys, but on the plus side, it's way easier. It's way easier to connect, you know? You have to do the least, you know? Back in what? Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, you know, Satya Yuga. They were doing the most. Okay, we're in the age, we've kind of got it a little bit easy. This is the age of darkness, though. Not that much time left, guys. Just 400,000 plus years and counting. You know, it's going like this. It's nothing. We're here to have fun. We're going to do it. We're doing it together. Let me give you just a little quick intro why I'm doing this, why we're doing this. This is me. I'm Pranav Bihari. I'm a comedian in New York City. I'm doing this with my dear friend, writer, director, producer, Adi Parige. Adi, say hello. What's up? Listen, I'm doing this for everybody, but I'm really doing this for people like me and Adi, people, Indian people, South Asian people, human people who grew up in the United States, arguably the most Kali Yuga of all places in many ways, who grew up here, who grew up in the West, a little bit detached from Dharma, not necessarily understanding what it's about. Sure, we all grew up maybe going to the temple, you know, every Sunday or whatever, right? And you're doing a bunch of rituals and you're like, what am I doing here? Then you go outside, you play football with your friends or something while your parents are inside and they're forcing you to eat raisins by the fistful. Did you have to eat raisins?
Yeah, but I like raisins.
I mean, listen, you like raisins, but you get a feeling when the Pandit or the Swami is handing out the prasad, he's giving you a fistful of raisins and he's trying to get rid of some raisins. Okay, let's just be real.
I'll take them golden sultanas.
I mean, dude, we were just getting, what was it? Sun Maiden, whatever, the one with the brunette.
Sun Maiden, yeah.
You know what I mean? The baddie on the raisin box, you know? I'm just getting fistfuls of raisins. You're like, why am I eating the raisins, you know? This is for you guys because, listen, I'm not here to be your guru. I'm not here to act as your teacher, your acharya, or anything like that. I am a student. I am a shishya, right? I am a seeker, and this is for other seekers who are interested in learning about what this ism is really about. With me, we're going to go hand in hand. We're going to learn together. I'm counting on you guys to really teach me as well. I'm not perfect. I don't know a lot. We're just here. We're going to be learning some stuff from some of the most ancient books that have ever been written, trying to unpack the true nature of reality, divinity, and how we all fit into this together. So I'm really honored if you are here listening. Let's go. We're going to have fun. We're going to have guests. We're going to talk about mythology. We're going to talk about scriptures. We're going to talk about a lot of current events. We're going to be talking about Dharma in the news. But most of all, guys, we're going to have fun. Like, I want to have fun doing this. I'm doing what I love, which is talking about Dharma. There's 2 things I love in this world, which are being a comedian and talking about Dharma. And for me, those 2 things are one thing. I want to talk about a little bit of Dharma in the news if we can. You'll watch the Republican National Convention. Who didn't watch that? That's a vibe, right? You guys lit up a blunt, you know, got together with the homies, watched the RNC National Convention. I want to talk today about Harmeet Dhillon's One True God. Harmeet Dhillon, if you don't know, she is a big brass in the Republican Party. She's Donald Trump's attorney. She's a big Republican shot caller. And Harmeet Dhillon came on the opening night of the Republican National Convention, and she opened up the convention with a traditional Sikh, which is a Dharmic religion, an Indic faith, an Ardasa prayer, which is a sort of invocation, something that you do before you start a thing. Let's listen to it now. Let's check it out.
To show respect, we cover our heads when we pray.
Harmeet. Oh, Harmeet. Oh, no, she's putting on the head covering. Harmeet's out here scaring the hose, actually. Now, immediately, Republican National Convention, it's giving a bit Muslim-y. It's a bit Islamic. I don't know if we like. Let's go.
Tu ठाकर तुम पे अरदास जियो पिंड सब तेरी रास तुम मात पिता हम बारक.
Some of these guys are just so awkward right now. There's one guy, he's just like, oh, don't know what to do about this. This is Trump's gal, gotta do it. Let's keep it going.
तेरे तुमरी कृपा मैं सुख कनेरे कोई न जाने तुम्हारा अंत ऊंचे ऊंचा भगवंत सगल समगरी तुमरे सूत्रधारी तुमते होए सो आज्ञाकारी तुम्हारी गत मित तुम ही जानी नानक दास सदा कुर्बानी. Dear Waheguru, our one true God.
I love that. I love that. To me, when I was watching that, when I heard that, I'm not Sikh, but when I listen to her voice and it's kind of quivering a little bit, like it really, I heard that's the same voice that I hear from my mom when she's singing bhajans at home, or she's chanting mantras or stotrams or whatever it is at home. When she's praying, that's what I heard was the kind of, plaintive, devoted voice, very sweet, because maybe she can't sing very well, but you can hear the love, you can hear the devotion, and making herself vulnerable before God was a really beautiful thing. And I thought it was very beautiful and very, very courageous of Harmeet. And when I heard her, all I really heard was honestly the voice of the mother, right? Of a mother. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was courageous. And you know what? So did the Republicans. They loved it. They went wild for it. They were like, what is Sikhi all about? I want to learn about this. Oh, you say it's monotheistic? Amazing. They were so supportive, guys. It was crazy. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. Okay, they went full moron on it. They went full dumb with it. Here's probably my favorite reaction. But there was a bunch of people. There was like Candace Owens. Like, why? Why though? Why? Which, I don't disagree on a certain level. If it's like, this is a Christian nationalist party, essentially, like, why would you do it? But they are trying to be a big tent party. And I think Harmeet really wanted to bridge a gap, right? But we'll talk about that more in a little bit. The reactions to this were overall pretty hilarious and pretty heinous and pretty dumb. But here's my favorite one. Let's watch this.
Wahigu? Are you retarded? Are you serious? Are you justifying a freaking demon?
Let's just run that back. It's just...
Wahigu? Are you retarded?
Wahigu? It sounds like a new Pokemon or something, right? That you want to capture, or... Wahigu, it also, I don't know, it sounds like some kind of a substance, like a snack that they give to public school kids in Appalachia, an underfunded public school. Time for your Wahigu, it's just pure corn syrup or something, comes in a tube. It's got like a very Wahigu. And this is the basic, it's a very dystopian thing. First of all, who is this woman? She's here. She's out here defending the Christians. She looks like just any other e-girl. You know what I mean? She's all tatted up. She looks like she's in the business, if you know what I mean. And I'm like, this is an interesting defender of Christendom, you know? What did you think of this woman, Adi? What did you think of the Wahigu?
I don't know. She reminds me of those girls that sat in the corner in middle school listening to like Death Cab stuff. But like also I like those people and they didn't really belong to this subject.
I know. I'm like, why are you LARPing? You know what I mean? You're camouflaging as somebody cool, but he's like, Wahigu? Really? Wahigu? And you know, here's the thing. Say what you want about the Democrats. I don't like the Democrats either. I think they're terrible. They're a total abysmal nightmare. But, you know, if someone like Harmeet had gone in there and done the Ardasa, they would have been like, yes, Wahigu, we love it. Yes, yes, queen. It's giving. It's serving oneness. Yes. We love a Khalsa queen. All hail Wahigu, slay Wahigu. Like, they would have been into it, you know? The Republicans are not. And the response to this from a lot of Sikhs that I saw online made me a little bit sad because they were just being like, guys, no, we're also monotheists. Like, this is just the word for God for us. Wahiguru is just our word for God. No, believe me, we're the same, guys. Believe me, we're the same. They're not having it. And this to me is something I want to point out is this is really the big difference between Indic faiths, Eastern faiths in general, right? If you look at Taoism and Shinto or whatever, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Hinduism, whatever it is, this is the fundamental difference between them and the three Western religions, if I may. The three Western religions are truly religions. And that they're more political apparatuses, right? Is what they are. They're nationalistic apparatuses. It doesn't matter if you say the one true God in your in your language, right? It's either Jesus or it's a demon. That's all it is, right? That's all it is. These are big political organizations, is what they are. Because it didn't matter that you were saying, hey, no, this is just one God, one true God, like you. No, it's like, nah. Listen, if you're not saying Jesus, if you're not saying whatever, it is purely demonic. And it is a process, it is a political process of in-grouping and out-grouping. And these people believe, right? Like this suicide girl or whatever, pinup girl, you know, the Death Cab for Cutie over here, her belief is that if you don't say Jesus, you're spending an eternity in hell, writhing and twisting around in flames, you know, getting poked in the butthole by Satan or whoever it is for an eternity. There's no getting out of it. It's just going to be the ultimate torment for you. And I think it's very telling, right? And to me, you just see very clearly the difference between how you perceive the world and how you perceive reality, right? The one thing about Indic faiths in general is there is no... Now, Sikhism is a little bit different because you have the Khalsa and they are a very distinct group, right? And but in general, when they're talking about themselves, they're not talking about us Hindus, us Buddhists, right? Us Jains, us... You know, it's never about that.
No.
You know.
And we all worship in each other's spaces.
Yes.
As well.
That is very true.
Going to the Gurudwara.
Yeah, I mean, my mom goes to Langar every week, you know, and not Langar, but she goes to like help with the Langar and stuff and Seva, you know, so they're really into that. And the Hindu temple in my community where I grew up, like, no, you had a statue you had a murti of Mahavir, right? The Jain prophet, if you want to call it that, right? You call him that. We had pictures of Guru Nanak, right? We were worshiping all these things that just came out of this fabric of Indic culture. It's very, in my mom's puja, she has like a little Virgin Mary in there, you know, with a baby Jesus and stuff. Hindus and Indians in general are just very worshipful people. Whatever it is that you got, it's an extremely pluralistic thing. They don't really care who you worship. It's more about how you worship in many ways, I feel. But you look at these guys and it's purely a nationalism. That's really what it is. They want you to speak their language. They want you to change your name. It's an imperial culture is what it is. That's why now the latest thing with the Christians, you know, online is like, Christ is king, all knees will bow. Like, what is that? What is that? You know, it's like it's something that you say before you go out to a football game or something. You know what I mean? Like, we will crush them. We will crush anybody who does not believe in this. It's extremely imperialistic, and their whole thing is like, hey, yeah, listen, these religions are very new, right? With the exception of Judaism, right? But they all have a concept of their in group, right? With the Christians, it's the elect. You know, with the Muslims, it's the Ummah. You know, with the Jews, it's we're the chosen people or whatever, right?
I think it's also really fascinating how Abrahamic religions have developed in India, in a Dharmic place.
Right.
Sufism and
Right.
Syrian Christians. I mean, there's been a lot of amazing developments amongst those faiths once they've imported themselves into.
You know, that's the thing. Indians are that hardcore with worship that even if you're a Muslim, you're still going at it with a very distinct Hindu fervor. Right. I mean, you know what's crazy? I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but like the Deobandi Islam movement started in India. It came out of like Lucknow. It's wild to think that the dudes who did 9/11 can trace their thinking back to Lucknow, India. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty nuts. Because, you know, that developed into like Wahhabism or whatever, right? But it's just amazing because, you know, and here's a response you'll see. And there's a distinct way of interacting with hatred of Indicness, right? That comes from the right wing and then the left wing, right? The left wing one is to be like, yeah, it sucks over there. It's garbage. We hate it. We're with you, Queen, right? But on the right wing, what you see from like a lot of right wing Sikh partisans, right, in America and in the West, was they were plaintive, like, no, guys, we're just like you. We're the same as you. One true God, baby. No, we're all the same here. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that because it's not baked into what they believe. They believe you only believe in this one thing and you call it this one specific way, or you're going to Helltown, bro. You're going to Helltown. It's not a good time there. Just an interesting thing that I thought worth talking about, right? Because I thought when I watched her sing that prayer, it really struck a chord with me. I was like, I felt the beauty of the experience, you know? And all I could think about was my mom and her singing and her prayers and her devotion and plaintiveness before the divine. And I thought it was so beautiful. And I'm not saying every Republican reacted this way, by the way, but the base, the influencers, they weren't happy about it. They were like, this is demonic. A totally childish way of thinking. Absolutely childish way of thinking. It is a way of thinking that is devoid of spirituality and attached to politics, nationalism, right? And this is the Kali Yuga, right? This is what we're doing up in here. Kali Yuga times politics is everything, right? It's the time of division, of dissolution, right? It's the end of magic. So, you know, maybe these are the religions of the Kali Yuga because they're very political in a sense. That's why they've been so ascendant and so dominant. These are just my own ramblings and musings. You know, you don't have to take everything I say with a grain of salt. You know, if you fuck with it, great. If you don't, also great. You know, tune in. If you don't like what I'm saying, I encourage you to DM me. I encourage you to message me. Follow me on Instagram at Pranahaha. We're going to have the IG up for the pod as well soon. Leave a comment. You know, I want you to dispute things that I'm saying. Don't come in with that shitty Indian. I'm going, hey, idiot. This bloody idiot should read a book. He is a fucking moron. Bosedik, you know, BSDK. I don't know how to pronounce it. Bosedik, I was pronouncing, but I've had some mutuals on Twitter be like, bro, that's hilarious whenever you try to talk about it. Because I don't know what it's pronounced, but I like it. You know, hey, idiot, Bosedik, you know. You know, just come at me though, because I want to learn. This whole thing is about me learning. It's not about me teaching. I have my observations, I have my assertions, but I always will endeavor to do so with humility. Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it in terms of Harmeet and her one true God. All respect and love to you, Harmeet. So, guys, the book that I have been reading lately is the Yoga Vasistha. The Yoga Vasistha. And by the way, I'm not doing an intellectual history of Dharmic faiths or scriptures or anything like that. This is not the place. I really want to talk about some concepts about it. This is considered really one of the seminal texts. It's one of the longest of all the texts out there. The version I'm reading is Vasistha's Yoga by Swami Venkatesananda. I highly recommend this. It's very readable. I have a big 4-volume set of the Yoga Vasistha, which I'd started many years ago. And I was like, this is just, It can be, how it is with all Hindu scriptures. They love detail. They love repetitive detail. They love epithets, We are a verbose bunch. We are a maximalist bunch. Which, by the way, is very interesting because Yoga Vasistha is really one of the seminal texts of Advaita Vedanta non-dualism, which has really become the most prominent, I feel, school and tradition of Hinduism. And throughout all the schools, you really see strains of Advaita in them, I feel. You know what I mean? And Tantra, to me, for instance, is really how do you practice, in a sense, non-dualism, and gets into the very particulars of that, right? And in many ways, non-dualism is a very benignly nihilistic perspective. And I say that emphasis on benign, but we'll get into more of that later. Yoga Vasistha is amazing. And one thing that I found is that it's a very repetitive text in many ways. Like you're hearing the same concepts over and over and over. And then on a broader level, you're hearing these concepts throughout so much Hindu literature. All the stuff that you're finding in Yoga Vasistha, you're finding throughout the Upanishads, various Upanishads, right? Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, throughout the Avadutta Gita, all of the Puranas, you're hearing all the same concepts over and over. And I like that. To me, it's like pasta. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, we love spaghetti. Hey, maybe spaghetti's my favorite, but I also like ravioli, right? It's the same thing, just a slightly different shape. I like farfalle. What's that? With the filling in that case, yeah,
That's also fact. Some people don't have the filling and some people do.
Some people don't have this. Sometimes they want a sauce, more just the sauce based, you know what I mean? But sometimes you want a linguine instead of a spaghetti, or you want a farfalle, or you want a fusilli. Are you going to turn down fusilli just because you love spaghetti the most? No, it's all pasta, right? You're getting the same joy out of it. And I like that, actually. It's kind of like, it's a very mimetic experience, actually, of non-dualism, right? Because it's like all these things are coming in the same form. That's always the central metaphor that they're always using throughout these texts, right? Of, you're like a gold ring, but you are gold. Gold is the essence of the thing. It gets very philosophical in that sense, in terms of, material causes and this and that. We're not going to focus too much on that. We're going to focus on things that I find very interesting about each chapter of the Yoga Vasistha. I think we're going to be writing the Yoga Vasistha all the way to the end, together, but we're not going to make it boring. I'm not going to read out of the text too much or anything like that. I really want to talk about very specific concepts. So let me just give you a little bit of context about the Yoga Vasistha. Yoga Vasistha takes place within the context of the Ramayana. The Ramayana, if you don't know, is one of the main epics, itihasas, of Indic literature, of Hindu literature. Of course, is a wildly popular text, right? It's spread all the way throughout Southeast Asia. They revere it all over there as well. Ramayana is about Lord Rama. Is he the 9th or 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu? I think he's the 8th.
He's before Krishna.
He's before Krishna, who I think is the 9th. And then some people like to say Lord Buddha is an avatar. I've heard that before when I was a kid. But, that's inside politics shit that we don't need to get into now. One of the main and probably the most widely worshipped avatar of Lord Vishnu, who came to the earth to purify the land of Rakshasas, specifically Lord Ravan, who was demon king, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, this takes place at a very specific point in the Ramayana. It's supposed to, right? You don't get the Yoga Vasistha in any of the Ramayanas, right? But this happens, I guess what you would say in the Balakanda, the first book, was where it would happen. And this is after Lord Ram has finished, he's graduated from the Gurukul of Rishi Vasistha, basically, right? He's finished his instruction there of learning how to be a prince and all the duties and things like that he does. So what does he do after he graduates? Road trip with the boys. Okay, him and his bros, they go on a long pilgrimage throughout India, throughout the land of Bharat, all the way from the Himalayas, all the way down to, the Konkani coast, maybe. I don't know. They don't tell us exactly, but he's going all across India on a tirth yatra of all the various holy pilgrimage sites. And they're just tearing it up, having a good time, and feeling the beauty of the divine, I guess, and whatever. That's like their spring break that they had after graduating from the Gurukul, right? Road trip. And Lord Ram gets back to Ayodhya, where he's the prince, and he's the crown prince at that, right? He's the eldest son, the most cherished of all the boys. He gets back, and he enters into a great period of dejection and depression, right? Total disillusionment with the world, and nobody can explain it. Everybody's like, yo, what's up with Ram? Why is Ram? He's not eating anything. He's not watching the dancing girls. He doesn't like listening to music. He's just like, he's not bathing as much as he should. Like he's depressed, and things really hit ahead when sage Vishwamitra comes in. Sage Vishwamitra was a Kshatri who then through his own penance became a Rishi, right? He became the highest of all Rishis, a Brahma Rishi. He did this through intense penance and in his rivalry with Lord Vasistha, right? And Vishwamitra comes into town and he's like, yo, Dasharath, to the king, Lord Rama's father, says, listen, I'm gonna need your boy. Got to handle some business. Time to do some dirt. Time for him to get his hands dirty. I'm performing a very important yajna or whatever in the forest, but I can't do it. These rakshasas, these demons, these cannibalistic demons are out in the forest and they keep harassing me. They're throwing meat into my sacrificial fires. They're spraying blood everywhere. They're vandalizing. They're just being a menace. I need Ram to come stand on business, stand on guard duty while I'm performing this very, very important ritual by the fire. And of course, there's some back and forth where Dasharath doesn't want him to. We don't need to get into that. Oh, he's my son, my only firstborn son. Oh, you can't. Hindus in these texts, they're all very dramatic. They're always swooning everywhere.
Always over the firstborn.
Always over the firstborn. Exactly. No one's crying like this over Lakshmana. Bharata.
Yep.
Shatrughan, was that the fourth one?
I think so.
Yeah.
They get a little bit less rememberable as you get.
And that's we're guilty of this too. The volume that we're saying their names because Shatrughan, something like that.
Tangential, but Skanda Kartikeya gets a really bad rap.
He does.
And everyone loves Ganesha. Well, there's a little contention over who's earlier. Shout out to my Tamilians who love Skanda and give
That's definitely something I want to explore is the Southern connection and all of these things that we're talking about. Anyway, Vishwamitra comes into town. He's like, I need Ram to do this. Dasharath doesn't want to. Eventually, though, Vasistha intervenes, who is the court sage. He's the sage of Ayodhya. He's the kind of right-hand seer for the royal court of Lord Dasharath. And he says, no, you stuck to a vow. You got to keep the vow. Let's call Vasistha here, or let's call Lord Rama into the court. And his chamberlain says, Lord Rama is really depressed right now. Your boy's going through it. He's down bad. We don't know why. We don't know what's going on. But, like we were saying, he doesn't like to eat, doesn't like to drink, doesn't like to party, doesn't like to enjoy the trappings of being a prince right now. He's just completely dejected. So they're like, bring him here. Vasistha says, bring him here. Vishwamitra says, bring him here. We're gonna set this kid right, And the first part of this book, which is on dispassion, is Lord Rama comes in and they're like, "What's up, bro? Like, why the long face, bud? What's going on? You got everything you could want." And Lord Rama comes out and he's just hating. He is just hating. This guy is hating. He's like, "Yo, wealth ain't shit. Sex ain't shit, hoes ain't shit, youth ain't shit, old age ain't shit, time ain't shit. None of this shit is shit, He's not having it, right? Life in short ain't shit to Lord Ram. And he explicates it very passionately and very rationally. And the Rishis are looking at him like, wow, this guy's so depressed. So what do? They give him a shitload of Zoloft. Guys, yeah. They give him some Zoloft, they give him some Lexapro, some Klonopin for the anxiety. I don't know enough about pharmaceuticals. And then the book ends, guys. Boom. Done and dusted. That's the Yoga Vasistha for you.
Sponsored by Zoloft.
This has been Pfizer presents Dharma Bombs. No, they don't do those things. What they do is very interesting to me, and this is what I want to talk about for this episode in terms of the Yoga Vasistha, which I found fascinating, is the Dharmic approach to depression. And what's really fascinating is after I read this, that night, a friend of mine came over and we were talking about Zen Buddhism. She was like, well, the Zen masters look at depression as something to rejoice over. It's actually a state, a high state. And it fascinated me, and I thought immediately of this. I thought immediately of the Yoga Vasistha and the dejected state of Lord Ram, the disillusionment of Lord Ram, or as they call it, the dispassion of Lord Ram. Is instead of despairing that this royal prince is depressed, that he's feeling all these things, that everything is deflavored to him, how is it that sage Vasistha and sage Vishwamitra, how do they react? They rejoice. They rejoice. They're like, this is amazing. They're like, this is the shit. They loved what he said. They're like, he's got bars, he's got bars. And they're like, this is an amazing thing. Everybody should be rejoicing over him feeling this way. Why? Because his depression is the sign of an enlightenment that is burgeoning right now. And this is the great thing about the Yoga Vasistha. I feel like the Yoga Vasistha is a very interesting text because for me, it's actually the scripture for people who are at an intermediate phase in their journey of seeking moksha and liberation and realization. It's for when you're an intermediate and at an intermediate phase. And Lord Ram himself says in the text, he says, I feel like I am half caught, like a tree, half caught, half free, like a severed tree that still retains its roots. And he's looking to be completely liberated. And I find it very interesting because what they're seeing is they're rejoicing because they're seeing somebody who's about to be initiated into the deeper mysteries of reality, right? They're all gathering. And not only that, but other people, there's some sort of a ripple in the cosmic fabric where other seers are aware of this happening. And they all are now coming and descending on Ayodhya because they want to hear, they want to witness the birth, right? He's like a silkworm trapped inside of the cocoon. And now he's a butterfly in there and he's getting out of the cocoon and it's a bit of a struggle and it feels you're trapped in there and he needs to get out and let his wings flutter and fly. And that's kind of what it is. I think it's very interesting. The deflavoring of sensual pleasures, that's the first sign of enlightenment to them, right? It signals to them that he has realized, Lord Rama has realized that all these things are unreal. They are not real at all. Material reality holds nothing in it which is real. He's already identifying that which is not real, and these are the things that he is surrounded by: wealth, sensuous pleasures. Right? I don't mean that in a sexual way, of course, but any pleasure that you get from eating, drinking, things like that. And their goal is not to restore the pleasure by sense objects, but they want to help him adjust his mental disposition regarding this new awareness that he has. So what they plan to do and what the Yoga Vasistha is about is a discourse. All these books are discourses, by the way, which I think is very amazing. Is through discourse, they're going to help him bridge his intellect with how he is feeling. They're bridging that gap through this discourse so he can actually feel good about the fact that none of this is real. To really put him on, right? To help him bridge the intellectual understanding with his wisdom that he doesn't fully understand that he possesses yet. And I think this is a really fascinating approach to depression, right? Like, we're always taught depression is X, Y, and Z. And by the way, I'm not hating on people who need to take, who are on psychiatric medications. I think it's something that the depression of Lord Rama right now is something that has come through some kind of a realization in life. It's an existential realization.
Maybe even slightly different than a depression.
It 100%, right? This chapter, they're calling this the Great Dispassion, right? But what it is, though, but they also use, like, all the people of the court are like, oh, he's depressed. They're like, no, he's dispassionate. And dispassion, by the way, is one of the central, most valued attributes of any seeker of Dharma. Is dispassion is everything. You read about it in the Gita. It's the first thing. Everything is dispassion. You want to find it. They have identified in him that he is achieving dispassion. He just doesn't know how to fully behold it or comprehend it. And I think it's really a very fascinating way to view depression. Now, on the other hand, if you're somebody who has suffered some sort of great trauma in their life and abuse or things like that, or they have PTSD from something, like, believe me, there's all kinds of modalities that can help you get out of that, including, the path of Dharma. But I'm not here to shit on anybody who needs to be on some medication or anything like that. That's not what this is about. I was poking fun at our hyper pharmaceuticalized country that we live in, right? Pharmacology is everything. But I think it's very, very interesting that they viewed his depression as a sign of enlightenment, right? As a sign of enlightenment, of this person is aware of something now. And I find this really fascinating. And I actually, You know what's funny is I also find this very fascinating in a sort of westernized context as well, because in Western psychoanalytic thinking, I was talking to a very good friend of mine, Dr. Shervin Ravan. He's a psychoanalyst and a psychiatrist, and at some point I want to have him on because I have a lot of great conversations about Dharma with him, and he's not a Dharmic person per se, right? He has no religion. He doesn't necessarily follow any particular spiritual path, but we have some really great discussions. And he used to run a psychoanalytic reading group that I was in with him. It was really great. There's a lot of stuff. All those guys are centuries and millennia behind the Rishis. You know what I mean? Like they're really way behind. It's amazing. It is really a form of sort of Western racism. It's racism that keeps people from actually enriching their knowledge because they were thinking about these concepts that psychoanalysts and all are grappling with, for the past 100 years. They were doing thousands of years ago. And frankly, yugas ago, truly, and really, they really did solve it. But it is a sort of a nationalistic chauvinism that prevents people from being like, oh, well, maybe we should see what the Indians are about, But it's like, no, they're dirty. Cow stuff, whatever. It is what it is, bro. Kali Yuga, like I said, a time of division, right? Dissolution. It's all good. We're here to bridge the gap a little bit, though. And what was really fascinating is that, according to Melanie Klein, who is one of the foremost psychoanalytic thinkers and theorists out there, she was Sigmund Freud's protege. Melanie Klein described depression. This is stuff that I'd read about previously in one of her books, but Shervin had reminded me of and discussed with me, is that depression sets in because the infant, the child, feels at one with the world, and thus they're able to carry on somewhat happily, right? And sort of in a happy-go-lucky way until they start to reach adulthood, and then they feel the separation between themselves and the world, right? There is division between the two. And the psychoanalyst's task is to help them accept that separation. And that is where they diverge from Dharmic thinking, right? Because I think you're seeing something similar here. Lord Rama went about his life as a young prince very happily, right? Consorting with his friends and playing and frolicking and learning how to be the best archer and all that stuff. And then he reaches a point, in his adolescence, right? In his late adolescence, this takes place when he's about 16 years old, where he's now feeling, oh gosh, none of this has joy in it. He's experiencing that sense of separation, in a sense, in Western psychoanalytic terms, mind you. That's not what it actually is. Now, if a Western psychoanalyst were to talk to him, or a psychotherapist were talking, they'd be like, hey man, you just got to deal with it, and you got to find joy in other ways, and here's a little workbook for you to think about, and if you want some medication, maybe I can help you with that, right? No, the Rishis are like, now this is the beginning of your journey. This is your beginning journey. It went from oneness to separation. Now you're going to go back into oneness with full understanding of what this ism is all about, what this reality is actually all about. And you're going to understand what your role to play is in it, what the true nature of reality is, what is God, right? They're going to be answering all the big questions here. What are the paths towards liberation, right? From this cycle of samsara. Samsara, by the way, which I love in Venkatesananda's translation, is they always refer to samsara as repetitive histories, right? Repetitive histories. And I love that as a concept because it has a lot of modern applications, because in this life, even within one lifetime, they're talking about within many lifetimes, samsaras, over lifetimes. But, it's at a microcosmic level, you can look at it within your own individual life, and think to yourself, well, I've made mistakes in the past. Did you learn from the mistakes? No? Well, then you're going to have to learn the lesson again. You're going to learn the lesson again. You're going to learn the lesson again until you fucking learn the lesson, and it's going to be painful every time until you've learned the lesson, and something will change within you. And that is how growth happens, individual growth within a person. Samsara, this happens over many lifetimes, right? We're here to burn many karmas over the period of many, many lifetimes until we are finally free from the bondage of karma, of our karmas, right? And that is really what the Yoga Vasistha is going to be about. That's where it's taking us together. And I'm really excited to be digging into it. Guys, I've been reading much further ahead in the book, obviously, at this point, and it gets insane in here. It is. It's like Christopher Nolan should be directing certain parts of this. It's getting like, it's very sci-fi. And mind you, this is written over 1,000 years ago at least, right? At least the stuff they're talking about is just, it's mind-bending. Like there are times when I've had to reread sections of this book multiple times. I can feel my brain burning calories. You know what I mean? I can feel it working, the mind working, and I can feel thought as matter now. I come away every morning, I read this book, and I come away from it feeling like I'm coming out of an acid trip, you know? It's like a psychedelic experience, and it is truly, it changes you to read these books in a very positive way. Like you feel something within you, and I hope through my own transmission of what I'm learning throughout this, that you guys can feel that as well, that I can help to transmit this to you. Though, again, I encourage you guys to get the Yoga Vasistha by Swami Venkatesananda. Check it out. You should get it. I would love if you guys could read along with it with me. And again, let's get a little satsang going together, right? And learn from each other, prosper from each other's wisdom, and let's just have some fun doing this, because this shit is so for real, dude. It really is. It's fun. It is fun to learn about this stuff because your mind is bending, you know, and the ways that you're experiencing growth through Dharma is just fascinating. And it is a good time. It is a good hang. Maybe I should change the name of the pod to just good Dharmic hang. The good hang, you know. It is a true satsang. So if you guys have any thoughts about what I said about, Western psychoanalysis and the beginning of the Yoga Vasistha, Lord Rama's disillusionment, dejection, and dispassion, I would love to hear about. Adi, do you have any other thoughts that you want to... I totally agree. You know, the great thing also about Dharma, guys, and Sanatana Dharma, whatever it is Indic culture, unlike other religions, they give you very distinct, tangible tools, right, to help free yourself, right? And I'm talking about things like yoga, meditation, pranayama, the breath work, right? And what I really want all the Indians who are listening to this in the West is, look, I know a lot of us want to distance ourselves from what's in the past because it's materially less, right? India is not a very rich country, or it's becoming, right? But, we came out of a place of great poverty, and thus in the Kali Yuga, people see that as, oh, this is a sign of your actual worth, intrinsic worth. It's not. Everybody in the West is now trying to adopt these techniques and rebrand them, right? Oh, pranayama, more like the Wim Hof technique, This is the Jenny method. Come on in, whatever, right? Something to...
Through a pyramid scheme.
It basically through a pyramid scheme, right? Huberman, he calls yoga nidra and non-sleep deep rest. It's yoga nidra, you know what I mean? But what I want to tell you is we have the tools. We have the tools to make you feel better. Even if you're not a spiritual person per se, there's a lot to be offered throughout these tools alone. And I just want to encourage you to just dip your little toe in them. Maybe you can dip your little toe in this podcast, see how it makes you feel. I want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for our first inaugural episode. Adi, thank you so much. I love you. I'm so honored that we're doing this together. Also, I want to give a shout out to Anand Wilder, who formerly of Yesayer, an incredible musician who gave us our jingle. He recorded that at a Diwali Puja at the Broome Street Temple when we were together. He recorded some of the chanting there. And this guy is such a musical wizard, such a gifted fellow. He just made it of his own accord. And I told him, hey, I need a jingle for this. He was like, how about this? Dropped it on me, and it was perfect the way he gave it to me. So
follow him on Instagram.
Follow him at Instagram. Yeah, very wholesome account. Follow me on Instagram at Pranahaha. Follow Adi Parige. Adi, by the way, an incredible filmmaker, just dropped an incredible short film called The Laskar. We'll talk about that more later. Adi, I'll give you a more robust intro next episode. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Om Shanti, Hari Om, Tattvamasi, whatever salutation you want. I love you. Thank you. Goodbye.